Back at the Real Estate Radio Show featuring Chris Lofthus of the Chris Lofthus Group at Keller Williams Realty in Boise. Just a quick reminder, I did get an email during that break. They want to know the date of the event at Concierge Legacy. That's July 17th. That will be at the Arid Club. So just get online, or the best way just to reach out to the folks at Concierge Legacy at 275-8875. That's July 17th from 3 to 5. And Chris, we certainly had a spirited conversation in here during the break, and it started out by, in essence, why would somebody want to sell their own home? I know on the outside it goes, oh, I'm going to save a lot of money. Really, it's going to cost you a lot of money when you go for sale by owner.
Well, really, to say that it was a spirited conversation would be kind of an understatement. But and this is exactly kind of what we talk about. I was driving in to work yesterday morning, and I was telling Annette and Jerry about it. There's this website. I'll even give it because I think it's so absurd, but it's called like www.stickasigninyourYard.com or whatever, something just crazy like that. And I was just like, they'll throw it on who knows what it is, a for sale by owner type of deal. And, nationally trying to sell your home by yourself doesn't work. I mean, some people pull it off. Majority of people, it's almost 0% chance of selling a house just because the comfort level of the buyers. But off of that point is that's kind of what we do. Just so we talk about these guys at Concierge are, advisors, like they talk about preserving wealth or again, going back to the listing thing. That's what we are at the Chris Lofthus Group. We're a trusted advisor, and I'm sure Van here will agree when we talk about this. When you watch people and you listen to them, you're like, you're day trading, and you start talking about this, you're like, you have no advice whatsoever. So you worked for HP your entire life, or you did this, and now you're gonna, like we always joke around. Now you're gonna retire. You're gonna open up a left-handed store in Meridian and just sell products just to left-handed people, and you're not going to have any advice on what to do with your money, right, Van? We discussed this. You need an advisor.
Absolutely. I am left-handed, though, so I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that store. So is Aaron.
That's actually a great idea. I hope it's okay if I. Well, and on to that, Van is, and you've heard this before. I watch CNBC, and I have a Scottrade account, so I'm good to go, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we are mocking a little bit, but why wouldn't you have an expert like yourself?
I totally agree. You do need an expert like us. And here's the other thing. When I meet with those clients for the first time that have been doing their own investments, they're the biggest risk takers I know. And typically they're in stuff that we would never put them in. And yet when we ask them questions, they're extremely conservative.
Right.
So it's always kind of an interesting dynamic that goes on there, that one minute they're really conservative, but they're in some of the most high-risk investments that we would have a hard time putting them in directly. So it's always been kind of interesting to see those types of clients come back to us. And that's really where, again, when I said, I think beginning of our second segment, where we said sometimes we got to protect our clients from themselves, and that's a good example of that.
Well, so. I think too, Van, we talk about this too. I think when you try to do, I'm not saying trying to do things yourself so much, but I'm talking about dealing with your investments and all this other stuff. It's so important to have a third-party rationalization. I talk to husbands and wives all the time, and it's just amazing some of the conversations. I could go on for hours, the conversations I have on how they do not see eye to eye on things. And so I think when we discuss, you and I and what Aaron, we discuss Aaron, talk a little bit about this too, is that third-party rationalization and saying, hey, look, you were looking at your account. You're talking about, here's what you're telling me you want to do, and your wife's telling me this, and your kids are telling me this, and so that's kind of what you guys do too. You're there to give advice. You're there to be a third party rationalization, really.
Absolutely. The perfect example I can give you is when a client hires us and we ultimately go out and bring in certain boutique managers to manage on that level, we don't even pretend to be that expert. We're not going to beat, a firm of 50 analysts, okay? But we hire them for our clients.
Right.
But when you do that, you've set up the Chinese walls to manage emotion. What happens is when the do-it-yourselfer buys a stock or whatever they're buying, they have immediately are emotionally tied to it, and they are not going to make a good decision.
Yeah,
they just aren't. They don't.
You're exactly right. When you talk about on the investment side of real estate, they're making these decisions. Like we talk about someone buying a duplex or a fourplex. If you're buying it from the investment side, if you look at like my homeowners, right, they're going to buy or sell a house. There's so much emotion there because they're gonna. It's not just an investment, and people look at it as an investment. They're living there. I mean, there's a roof over their head. Everyone's got to have that, right? And so in your world, fact of the matter is, it can really become irrational really quick. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I think a couple other examples in our lives that can become very emotional, and we don't wing it and do it on our own. If you've got a major surgery, I'm not doing surgery on myself. I'm certainly not doing it on Van. I'm not qualified. He's going to go to a medical facility and hire the best doctors and put his trust in them.
Right.
The same thing if something goes awry in the legal world. I'm not going to go represent myself and go Perry Mason it down at the court.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to hire a lawyer. So I think there's always a reason to have the right trusted advisors in your life.
Yeah, and you do discuss that and having the right trusted advisor in your life, and it's just the same reason we have buyer's agents, the reasons we have listing agents. People say, isn't Chris coming? And they're like, yeah, he's involved 100%. But the thing is, I'm more of a director of what's going on with our company, and you have buyers and you have sellers, and you have like a net, our executive assistant. But the thing is, we have everything plugged. We have you covered. So when you talk about, even you guys get advice. So my thing is, if someone wants to do something, it's not just necessarily in your field. For example, I don't go out and inspect homes. I don't go out and appraise. I'd love to, because that's a long story. But anyway, but the truth is, you guys get advice too from other companies, and so you're giving the best advice.
Absolutely, and I think if you are sitting down with somebody that thinks that they know everything on your behalf, you better question why you're there, and maybe you should run for the door.
It's conciergelegacy.com. You can call it 275-8875, 275-8875. It's Van at conciergelegacy.com, and it's Aaron at conciergelegacy.com, and that's Aaron, Aaron. Van, as I told you during the break, I had a couple of questions about your event at the Arid Club. That's on the 17th from 3 to 5. Is that like a mid-year checkup, or if somebody's listening, say, yeah, I like what these two are talking about, I'm interested, who should come to that?
Really, it's going to be a pretty it's not going to be anything specific about products or anything. It's more of an educational event for our existing clients, any new clients. We're just, there's so much noise out here. I mean, I'm glad we live in the world we do when it comes to information, but sometimes it needs to be it's over dramatized, and maybe some things are being missed by the media, and we just try to bring in a unbiased look at where we're at in the European markets. How are we going to be really affected by that in the United States if something keeps going the way they go? Is the housing market, what's going on in the housing market? In fact, we're going to try to ask Chris to take a couple minutes at that meeting as well and stand up about and talk to our clients and any clients that are going to be attending that, let's talk about the housing market. What are we really seeing out there? So we're just trying to bring an update. There could be some negative and some positive into the thing, but at the same time, it's going to be real, and we're going to definitely educate our clients on what we should expect going forward.
That's our friends at conciergelegacy.com. And Aaron, I get you guys do a weekly, I think it's a weekly, it seems I get it every week, your newsletter. So if somebody says, hey, I want an invite to this, they can send you an email, get on that. And I know there's some other elements you wanted to add to what you're doing at the Arid Club.
Yeah, absolutely. We send out a weekly newsletter. And like Van talked about, we're doing this half-year midway educational seminar. And so anybody out there, if you are just dying for some good information, just call us. We have limited seating, and come in, because we know that people are looking for it. So,
all right, it's 275-8875. And before we go to timeout, Van, did you want to add one more thing in there? Just make sure you talk in the microphone there. It's
thanks, Dave.
I'm still trying to figure out how I'm speaking at this engagement now.
Oh, well, I saw you here. You look.
That's
really
what we call winging it.
Yeah, that's right.
Winging it.
You got to show up with an agenda, though. Okay?
That should be.
I'm there.
I just want to make sure everybody knew we had limited seating. So if you want to come, definitely call us earlier the better.
Perfect.
All right, our friends Van Carlson, Aaron Seehawer, guys, as always, we appreciate you coming on the show. Great advice. They're the principals of Concierge Legacy, and they are advisors that will protect your assets. And more importantly, it's a holistic approach to your investing, creating, protecting, and preserving wealth for future generations. ConciergeLegacy.com. Chris, give us a snapshot of what you're going to go over as we wrap up the show.
I will real quick, and we talked about this at the break as well, and it's kind of an interesting number. We were talking about international money and its effect on the real estate market in the United States, and it's some pretty interesting statistics, and we'll get into it in the fourth segment.
All right, you are listening to the Real Estate Radio Show featuring Chris Lofthus of the Chris Lofthus Group at Keller Williams Realty in Boise. We will be back after this time out.